To that matter, could you maybe explain us something about the character quest that you're planning to?
The story?
Yeah,
the personal story comes out of your choices you make. Initially, when you create a first level character with as a human or an asura or a char, you're making choices. You say, okay, I'm going to be a char and I'm going to be an elementalist profession, and we take that further. We say, well, how will you? If you're a human, where did you grow up? Did you grow up on the streets? Were you nobility? Were you a commoner? And that starts your story in motion. And as you go through, you make further choices in life, informed choices. Do I want to help Quaggan or Skrit? Do I want to join this particular group or that particular group? Do I want to help out this particular operation? And that sets the markers down for future adventure for you. And instead of having one storyline, we have a braided storyline of choices. So you may have a human elementalist, you may have a human elementalist, but you have very different stories because you've made different choices over the course of your life. And this is the cool thing at high levels, the ability to come back and find, okay, I'd like to try it as an Asura who was a member of the School of Dynamics, and basically works on golems. And then you have a different story. It's set in the same world.
So is there a plan to do things that maybe only nobility can do or something?
The effect is it's actually much more of things which affect you. In our opening demo, for example, you're knocked out at the end of the tutorial, and while you were out, several people came to visit you. If you're a commoner, an innkeeper and his daughter come to visit you, and basically your story deals with their problems later on. If you're from the streets, one of your old shady friends, Quinn, from your old gang comes by, and he's in personal trouble, and you have to deal with him. And if you're nobility, Lord Farron has stopped by, and when you catch up with him, he's basically set up a party in your honor. So if you're a noble, you get a party, and stuff happens at the party. So we have different experiences for different choices that you make.
How difficult is that to do in a game? Obviously, it's so expensive.
Pardon?
How difficult is that to do, kind of get this sort of almost choice reward mechanic in a game that's obviously so expensive?
It is a big challenge because we have a lot. Whenever you make a choice, you're basically having to follow both paths down the way. So we have a very talented team of writers and designers who are building these in many ways in a framework that basically also the big challenge is to make sure we balance so people play the nobles operation and they feel they've gotten a good experience. And they play a street-based character. They feel like they've got a good experience, as good as the noble. They don't feel like, oh yes, if you want more adventure, you go in this direction. We want to balance out the adventures so everybody has, something that they want to boast about. One thing you also notice, I touch on that briefly, is when you see our demos, when you play through the tutorial, it ends with an attack by a giant earth elemental. When you play the char area, it leads up to this huge dragon, the Shatterer. This is, we believe in doing things big. We don't believe in, bring us 5 wolf pelts or whatever. This is our tutorial involves really dynamic, exciting things, and that's actually our third big piece, which is visceral combat. Combat should be exciting. A lot of combat in MMOs we hit the buttons, but our buttons do a lot of different things. We have buttons we tap, buttons we hold, we have ground effects, we have different types of skills do different things, and also they interact with other people's skills. If your elementalist lays down a wall of fire and your warrior fires a longbow through it, those arrows catch on fire and do additional damage. That's the type of thing that we're looking at when we're trying to make the characters interact. So even if you're not grouped up, a elementalist and a warrior on the same battlefield is a more potent combination.
I think you called that improvised tactics. And how is this going to affect, especially the PvP?
Well, visceral combat is actually the phrase we're using at the moment, just as far as the improvised tactics is a real cool thing in the fact that we have a lot of environmental items that you can interact with. One thing the warrior does, he has a banner, a war banner. He drops it down and everyone gets a buff. Some other character can pick up that war banner and move it someplace else. You can create, in one of the stories, you can get a hold of a jar of bees. And when you get a hold of a jar of bees, your skills change and you can throw a jar of bees at somebody. We do boulders, you can run more mortar installations. You can fire cannons. This is the type of thing, again, making the world as interactable as possible. I am actually encountered this for the first time in the beginning human instance, like last week. I found a bag of feed. Picked up the bag of feed. Basically changed my skill bar and it says feed cow. I went over and I fed the cow. And the cow got little hearts over it and really liked me because I was feeding the cow.
Of course.
That wasn't there.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that was there 3 weeks ago. But
Okay.
it's the type of thing that we're always adding to see what the world can do.
So will there be maps, PvP maps for that have improvised tactics in it?
We're not addressing the PvP as much right now with this, what we're talking about here now, but we are going to be doing a worldview world, which is going to be a large area of mixed skill levels, which are going to be able to deal with characters across the board. And that's where we stand. Will they have improvised items? I'm going to say probably, but I can't say that definitely.
I think I already know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask anyway. Obviously, a lot as going into this game is clear the improvements, the advancements you're making are vast. Did you ever sort of think about just maybe sort of doing expansion for Guild Wars rather than just doing Guild Wars 2, or is it just too much to kind of?
Well, actually, the reverse happened. We were doing the expansion games for Guild Wars, the original Guild Wars, and we were did factions, and we did Nightfall, and we were basically getting to the point of where we really wanted to improve the gameplay. We wanted to improve the engine, but we couldn't do that with what we had. So we were working on one project. It was codenamed Utopia, and that turned into Eye of the North, which was our last of our games. And then at that point we already had started directing our resources and our attention and our design to how are we going to take it to the next level? How are we going to use what we've learned from GW1 and bring it up? Because we felt there were things about GW1, and I love the game, that still needed to move forward. Both from a standpoint of we have more potential in storytelling if we open up, we go to more persistent areas as opposed to instanced areas. We have characters that can jump. That was always the limitation. Your warrior.
That was one of the first things I tried yesterday when I played the demo.
Jumping?
Yeah.
Have you gone swimming?
No, I didn't. But
Jump in the water.
Okay.
But again, we have a lot of freedom of movement in the game that we didn't have in GW1 because of the mechanics of the game that we had.
And we can roll and stuff. I saw that.
That's actually part of the whole. That's a good point for combat as well. We double tap in the direction you're going. You can roll in that direction, and so you can roll out of the way of the dragon's breath. You can get out of the way of that centaur missile. So combat is we reward you for movement.
So you can dodge missiles actively.
You can dodge some missiles.
Okay, cool. Another thing about the dynamic events, I read on I think it was the website that it was an example. There's a volcano breaking out, something, and does this happen all the time? So when I get by that area, then okay, there's something happening here.
There's always something happening. It may not be the volcano.
Okay, yeah.
But we do have, it may be something that's tied to a particular timer. It may happen at a particular time of day. It may happen as a result of other actions. So basically, it might be part of a larger chain in which an elementalist is trying to, summon some, fire spirits. And basically, if you escort the elementalist there, then the volcano goes out.
Yeah. So sometimes people will have to go back in different areas if they want to explore it all. So maybe they missed an event happening or something.
You never step in the same river twice.
Okay.
The same thing applies here in the fact that we recognize that someone may go through Alterbrook Crossing 4 times and never have to deal with centaurs attacking because they've never been attacking, and then he comes back a 5th time and the centaurs have attacked Alterbrook Crossing and they've killed all the merchants there, and now if he's going to be able to buy stuff, he's going to have to drive out the centaurs.
But what is if I already have done that? Will this event be cancelled for me somehow?
It will not be canceled for you personally, nor because the world is persistent, is always going, but it will drop out of that chain, and therefore, it's other events will take its place. So it still will be there. If you on a Sunday you're fighting centaurs in defending the garrison against centaurs, on Wednesday you may also find yourself defending the garrison against centaurs.
Okay.
But it's it's not going to be if you are fighting centaurs at 1 o'clock, you're also fighting centaurs at 2 o'clock,
Okay.
you're also fighting centaurs at 3 o'clock. You basically, because we chain them through events, what the players do as a group affects the flow of that entire area.